Parashat? Shelach. Tremendous parasha. Main point of the parasha is the meraglim, the person who is the mekoshesh, the guy who collects the wood on Shabbat. Of course, tzitzit and mezuzah and so on and so forth. Talks this parasha a lot about meaning, identity, and so on and so forth. And there's a great correlation and quite real, correlation between Parashat Shelach and the Haftarah from Sefer Yehoshua, and it's quite simple, right? Mm-hmm. In both cases, the people are sent to a certain task in the land of Israel, right? Do whatever they do, that we'll see. But if you look a little deeper into that, it says that there is a fundamental difference between the two missions in which they were sent, and the differences are not, if sometimes even more important than what is similar between them. So, practically speaking, if you're going to read the parasha and the haftarah, it brings about the root of the failure of the generation of the Midbar and the tikkun in which they were supposed to do to bring about the generation into Eretz Israel. Now, if you're going to look carefully at Parashat Shelach, there's something very surprising, right? We have the 12 men that Moshe sent, and they're not called at all spies. They're not called spies. The Torah says them as people who went to Latour et haaretz. In other words, be tourists. It sent 12 people on a journey to tour the land, not to spy, to tour. So we're not talking about some kind of like a special ops kind of a thing, reconnaissance, mission that they're sending and so on and so forth. Because if this was the idea behind it, Moshe Rabbeinu, right? I quite doubt that if he would send a nasi, the ministers. Imagine, like, for example, I don't know, Trump sends Rubio to become a spy. That doesn't happen. He didn't send just regular people. He didn't send military people. He sent the Nasim, the presidents of the tribe, the chieftains of every tribe, right? Mm-hmm. And he would not, of course, send such a great envoy of 12 men that it will be very difficult to hide. I mean, when you send and they travel as a group, it's very simple to see a group of 12 men. You would send 2 people, 1 person, and so on and so forth. But he sends 12 of them. The mission was, of course, completely different. They were sent to meet the land, to experience it, and to come back with a picture for the future of the people who are coming into this land. Each and every one of them was, since there was the chieftains of the tribe, the intent was that he would go in and with the unique characteristics of his own tribe will be able to portray a picture for them, for the tribe that would speak to the people. Which is, of course, a very interesting point, right? Mm-hmm. Make it a little bit more presentable to them. So in that fashion, the mission of we call it the mission of shaping a national vision, right? Mm-hmm. The way to look at and then, of course, it's going to be a joint vision that everybody says, "Oh, wow, we want to go there." Now, a nation that just came out of slavery needed more than just a geographical map. It also needs a map for meaning, and that's something for us as well. We always make a path of success. You're going to go to college. You're going to learn get a good major. You're going to go to graduate school. You're going to go here. You're going to get this job. You're going to become a lawyer. You're going to become a dentist or whatever in the world you're going to become. That's going to be success. Well, which is fine. I mean, you need to do so. But we never acquire our children and ourselves a certain roadmap for spiritual success or for an emotional success. We don't address that whatsoever. And this is what we fail on all the time. I love your haircut, by the way. So really, we don't address that, and that's a terrible thing. So therefore, it wasn't a military mission. It was more of a spiritual leadership type of a mission that was sent. The people were, of course, as we said, the chieftain. They have tremendous public influence on their people. They had a social stature. And instead of translating reality that they saw from a vision of wow, what a wonderful place, and we are there, and each one will have his own share, and so on and so forth, to inspire the people, they let their fears and the lack of emunah, lack of security, to really shape the story in which they would tell the people. And this is, by the way, something that we do ourselves all the time. That's something that we all do. In other words, their personal anxiety turned into a public narrative. And this is exactly what is happening today with all this thing in terms of, like, I don't know if you just saw, there was a whole thing about China manipulating AI, ChatGPT, in order to create a fear of terror among the Americans. I mean, it's something similar to what Qatar is trying to do in America as well. And these are all the advertisements and all these things that people do, whatever agenda they have, whatever it is, they take your fears. And by the way, we do the same thing to ourselves as well. You know, we always look at the horrible thing, and I'm not saying put your hand in the sand, but, you know, we allow this fear to become the narrative of our lives. And that's not something that it's you know, that it's healthy. It's not healthy at all. So from a sociological point of view, one of the strongest forces in society, human society, this kind of an approach is extremely powerful. From a sociological point of view, this is extremely powerful. Leaders are not just people who hand over information. They create meaning. Those people create meaning. Look at this anywhere you want. Where it was the time there was, let's say, for example, you know, FDR, or it was JFK, or it was Nixon, or it was Reagan, or Clinton, or Obama, or Mandani. The leaders create a certain meaning. And when the people with authority lose faith in their future, fear spreads out quickly and becomes a collective awareness. In other words, we have a problem. And this is exactly what happened to the Dor HaMidbar, to the generation of the desert. The spies of Yehoshua says, was quite anonymous. They were successful, but they're quite anonymous, right? Yehoshua sends 2 people only to Jericho, and the names are not mentioned at all, right? We later on we know, the Gemara tells us, this tells us, the other one tells us, but the Tanakh does not tell us their names, right? Yeah. But the mission is very simply defined, right? And to collect information, or to gather information. In other words, there was the first recorded recon mission in human history. Collect information that is going to help them conquer the land, right? There is no public ceremony. There is no tribal representation. There's no official title. They act quietly, anonymously, and in great discretion. The mission becomes successful, not just because the people themselves, the messengers, the spies themselves, right, are doing such a great job. But the reason why the mission becomes successful is because they themselves almost disappear from the story. They're not trying to shape the awareness of the people. They're not dealing with their own personal stature, right? They're not looking for recognition. They just fulfill the mission. You just do what you need to do. And this is the point of the tikkun of the Dor of the Midbar. That's exactly what needed to do to fix the damage. When a person puts himself in the center, this is a lament for all the selfish people. When a person puts himself in the center, right, he's not able to perform the job. He's not able to perform the job. When you are not putting yourself in the center, when you don't become the center of focal attention, excuse me, you're able to serve the purpose in a much better way, right? And that's exactly what they did. Now we have another story in the parasha. It was the person who is the Mekoshesh, the guy who went and collect, burning wood on Shabbat. And this is also talks about being anonymous, the power of anonymity. So the tension between the shlichut, the mission, to the personal identity also comes here, as we say, at the end of the parasha, in the story of this Mekoshesh himself. He himself also stays without a name. We don't know his name. Chazal, Masechet Shabbat, which daf?
Tzadik Bet.
Tzadik Vav. Right? Over there, they bring a great machloket. Rabbi Akiva identifies the Mekoshesh with Slov Chad. Right? He said, the thing was Slov Chad. However, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera acts, very sternly, and he claims that if the Torah hid his identity, here's something that Yonatan would like. If the Torah hid his identity, we don't have the authority to reveal his identity.
Same with the fruit of the tree, kind of.
What do you mean, the fruit of the tree?
That Adam ate from.
Well, I don't understand the connection.
It doesn't say what tree it was.
Oh, it does say. It's Sadat.
Yeah.
It says it's Sadat.
Yeah.
It does say. Now, so beyond the halachic discussion, there is a tremendous idea here. So when the Torah leaves an anonymous figure out there without giving it its name, it really tries, I guess, to direct our attention from the person to the principle in which this person represents. In other words, we many times get caught up with the image or with the person, with the persona, and we're missing the whole point of what exactly is happening here. And then we say, was it Slov Chad? It wasn't Slov Chad. It was this. It was that. We get this whole thing, and we're missing the whole entire point that what exactly happened. And let's see if we can find out what's the thing. Now, for example, the story does not talk about the personal biography of this person. It's called the Mekoshesh, but rather of the meaning of Shabbat and the boundaries in which Shabbat presents us. Shabbat does present us boundaries. As soon as the name of the person enters the story here, the focal point changes. And then we have to decide really who was this person, what was his reasons, what exactly happened to him in his childhood, did he have any unresolved issues, did he feel bad, he was abused, it was a whole entire story, right? Which of course are very important questions, but not to our case here. However, sometimes, and most of the time, this kind of question, this kind of information really would make the whole idea quite blurry. From a sociology point of view, this is the transition from value, right, to personality, from value to personality. Modern society, many times, and we see it, we concentrate on what we call celebrities, because we celebrate those people. We're celebrities, right? We used to have a different name for them. It's called idols. And those who are obsessed with them are simply idol worshippers, right? We concentrate on the celebrities and not the ideas behind them. I remember one time, there was a guy that came to my house. He was, he converted and his wife converted. And he wanted to share with me the story of why he converted. So he said to me the following. He says, I was doing yoga. And it was a Friday. And I went to the yoga, yoga dojo, whatever they do call this place. And at the end of the exercise, the instructor told us, meditate on a person, on an image that you actually admire, and let this image carry you, whatever, right? He said to me, I really liked Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen was my idol. So I was sitting there and started meditating on Bruce Springsteen, and I started to realize I don't like the things that he did, especially when he cheated his wife and he went for his band member, and so on and so forth. So, I was very disturbed by it. So I went to another person that I forgot who he was. He said, make a long story short, he said, from one person to another, and one celebrity to another, I realized they were all trash. He said, I was shattered. He said, I came to my wife and I told her, hey guys, whoa, sensei. I told her what happened and so on and so forth. And, we were sitting there, both of us, very, very sad, very, very upset. And then he said, all of a sudden, it's like somebody told me, pick your head up. And he looked on a shelf and he saw a book that some friend gave it to him. I think it's like the 9 question for a skeptical Jew or something, 9 questions, something like this. And he started reading it. And then when he started reading it, he told his wife, listen, you gotta hear this. And he started reading to her the book out loud. And he says, I read the whole entire book. And we were like, our jaw dropped. We couldn't just leave the book. At that point, he said, we decided to become Jewish. He said to me, that day was Erev Yom Kippur.
Wow.
That day was Erev Yom Kippur. So, it's an amazing experience, just to be able to do so. But look what he had to go. He had to basically shatter his whole world that he had those idols. If you think about those idols, I'm sorry, our celebrities, a bunch of lowlifes. And the way we treat our connection with politicians is the same thing. There's no difference. We don't care about the message that the guy is bringing. We're talking about the image that he's creating. And we are failing with this time and time again. Time and time again. What we need to be careful is to be careful not to do so to the images of Torah, whether it's rabbis and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. They're going to be a very big no-no. But nevertheless, don't do it. That's exactly what happens. We celebrate we concentrate on the persona rather than the messages that they're getting through, or they're trying to portray to us. So the Torah, in many cases, asks us or requires us to do the reverse motion. In other words, go look at what they're saying or what was said. It's just what the Rambam said. The Rambam said to us the following. He says, don't look of who said what, but rather what was said. Sometimes we see a person, he's just a little guy, and we don't pay attention to him. He becomes a rich guy and we all, worship him, right? Because what? Torah ha'ani bzuya. As they say, the Torah, the wisdom of a poor person is disgrace. Right? We don't want to listen to you. You're a poor person. What do you know? But look at what he's saying. Don't look at who the person says it. From an existential point of view, the question is really who is in the center? Me or my mission? Me or my mission? That's something that we should ask ourselves as well all the time. The contradiction between the spies of Moshe Rabbeinu and the spies of Yeshua and the Mekoshesh brings us a very big humanistic question. Do we see ourselves as vessels who serves a greater cause than us? Or do we turn the target, the goal, into a vessel that serves us? Do you see yourself as a servant to Hashem? Or you see Hashem, Chas v'Shalom, as your servant? How do you look at things? You have two things, but how you look at it makes heaven and earth. How you look at it? This is one of the greatest questions of human existence. Now, Viktor Frankl claimed that the person cannot live a long life when he's only busy with himself. Zalman, Chatan Danan, please, take some children. When he only concentrates on himself. You can. You have to have meaning. And meaning becomes about when a person turns to something that gives him value. You want to know why your life is so dry? Right? You want to know why your life is so boring? It's because of that. There is no value, or you don't value anything in your life besides yourself. There's no mission in your life. There's no love in your life. There's no creation in your life. And there's no responsibility. Even responsibility in your life. Even responsibility will give you a reason to live. Are you responsible for anything? Do you want to be, most people don't want to be responsible for anything. They don't love what they do. They don't see a mission in what they do. They don't see any way to create anything. All they want to care about is to get money and retire. That's what it is. I mean, that's horrific. I don't know about you, but that's no way to live. That's not a way to live. When a person turns himself also to the center of creation, right? He is the focal point of the whole entire universe, right? He is the be-all, end-all. Nothing else besides him, right? Me, right? I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, and so on and so forth, right? Accompanies together with that is a sensation of emptiness. You feel empty in your life. But when you are able to see your life, the story of your life, as a greater part, as a part from a greater story, you belong to something. Why do you think people go to gangs? Because they want to do the bad thing? Why do you think people go to motorcycle clubs to become like, motorcycle gangs? Because they want to go and beat up. No, they want to feel belonging to someone. Why do you think people go to I don't know, if you think straight, if you think common sense straight, you cannot be a liberal. You can't. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. But the fact that it gives you a sense of belonging, people will go there. But fill yourself up with something more common, more normal. Normal. Start with like basic things about family, about foundation, about society, about community, about something. When you do that, you'll be able to find great internal power, tremendous internal power, and tremendous ability to stand and to face and to win great challenges that comes along the way, and challenges would come your way. If you think that you're going to find the easy way out, always walk with, you can't go in the rain, run in the rain, and between the drops and stay dry. You're going to get wet. That's life. How are you going to deal with this? Do you have the ability to deal with this? Do you know how to deal with this? No, you don't. You crumble. So what do people do? They start doing crazy, right? And when there is drinking or gambling and so on and so on. By the way, that's why people develop certain types of addictions, because of the thrill. As they say, it's not the kill, it's the thrill of the chase. They live from one thrill to another. They do crazy things. And then before you know, it starts with meth and coke and whatever you name it. And then the end of the story, you're done. Believe me, that's what happens. I've seen it all the time. I've seen this all the time. So, excuse me, you could look the Chet of the Meraglim also from this kind of a lens, from this kind of perspective, right? They looked at the land of Israel. They looked at the land of Israel and they asked the question, what's going to happen to us? Yeshua and Caleb look from a different perspective. It says, why are we here? What's the point of us being here, right? And the difference between those questions creates two different spiritual words completely. Where are you holding? Which side of the coin are you holding? Which part of the stick are you holding? If you go back to this guy, to the Mekoshesh, right, as a part of the Mefarshim, right, and among them Targum Yonatan and Tosfot and so on and so forth, actually bring up a very fascinating question, idea. They says that the Mekoshesh, the guy who went together with wood, did so l'shem shamayim. He did so for the so-called the right reason. According to this approach, after the Dora Mabul was decreed not to, Dora Midbar, I said Dora Mabul, Dora Midbar, I was thinking about Sefer Bereshit. After Dora Midbar was decreed not to enter the land, right? There would be an impression that there's no more meaning for doing the mitzvot. The same thing as right after the Holocaust, right? Many people felt an existential crisis of not doing the mitzvot, and there was no point. Comes the Mekoshesh and says, I want to show you that even in a state like this, the Kedushat Shabbat stays, and we all required by the Kedusha, by the holiness of Shabbat. You don't have to accept this Perush, as they say, in face value. But even this Perush itself, this approach itself, teaches us on the great question. Is a person willing to pay his personal price for a value that he believes in. Are you willing to pay your price for something that you, or value that you believe in? For example, man, Sensei, you need a haircut. Let's say, for example, here, you're doing karate, right? And at a certain point, karate was very important to him, and I'm sure in your life and so on and so forth. But how much are you willing to give up, let's say, for example, on the Knicks game to practice karate? If you like the Knicks game, I don't. How much? Is this a value for you? Are you willing to push to the side? Needless to say, Torah. What is... Where are your loyalties? What are you holding? What is the superior value of your life? How much are you willing to? And that's what I said to you at the time that when I was thinking about the yeshiva at the time in 2003, I was thinking about three different concepts that I saw that most people fail in, which is commitment, dedication, and balance. People have a problem to be dedicated to something. People have a problem to be committed. Committed is when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. They can't commit. They can't commit. Something goes like this. Every wind that comes, one day they go here, one day they go there. So one day they're going to put a Becker shave rope all down to the pubic, to the belly button. Next day they're going to do a skinhead with a mohawk. I mean, everywhere the wind goes. Somebody comes, give you $10, going to shave your beard. Where's your Jewish identity, man? And so on and so forth. So it happens here all the time. You don't necessarily need to accept it, but it's a question to you. How much are you willing to pay for something that you claim is important to you? And of course, here's the dilemma between the self to the mission that you were giving. And here I'm going to talk to you about two different things that we always, well, at least some of us always do, which is tzitzit and mezuzah. Tzitzit and mezuzah is very interesting. When the inside and outside meet, this is the concept of tzitzit and mezuzah. After we were dealing with the meraglim and so on and so forth, comes the Parashat tzitzit, right? And Chazal says, because of the sin, ba'avon tzitzit u'mezuzah, banav shel adam metim. Because of the sin, excuse me, because of the sin of tzitzit and mezuzah, somebody's children will die? What do you mean, what sin? What are you talking about?
Midrash says this?
Huh?
Midrash says this?
So now, the Gemara says that also. So now, so you don't again have to say it necessarily as a technical punishment and so on and so forth, but you need to really see here, or you could see a deep spiritual process that happens. The sons of a person represent here a certain continuity, the next generation, and your ability to give this meaning, what it is to be a Jew, from one generation to another generation. Unfortunately, you see here in America, we lost it. And when the mitzvot becomes external symbols at all, external symbols, even when you have tzitzit and mezuzah, but your heart is not there, it's very difficult to pass on that fire, that torch, to the next generation. Being a Jew is not just a lifestyle you chose to live, but it's a torch that you were handed to hand to the next generation. Without the fire, the torch is just a stick. You need to have fire. And you need to have fire, and to show this fire, so your children will see the fire. And you need to show them, for example, that learning Torah is the most important thing of all. Because, not because you're going to go to heaven, because if not, life turns here into hell. Life here turns into hell. And there is a format, right? We are Masorti, we keep Masort, we keep tradition, but the meaning is declining. There's no meaning. It's going less and less and less. People would find more meaning in going to Aruba than to sit down in Bet Medrash for a week to learn. Rav Kook in Sefer En Aya, which is a wonderful book, I don't know if they have it in English, and if they do, you should get it.
Never seen it.
Described the mezuzah and the tzitzit as a living testimony. The mezuzah testifies that all orders of your house are implanted and infused with the Spirit of Hashem. When you put the mezuzah there in the door, it should represent here in this house, everything is done lefi halacha. This is what it means. The tzitzit testifies that the person is connected and it ties to the kedusha anywhere he goes. At night, sometimes I take my tzitzit off, I do something, I don't want to get dirty. I still put it on even if it's dark. I don't go out of my house without tzitzit.
It's comfortable.
Excuse me?
It's comfortable.
It's not comfortable. It's beyond being comfortable and not being comfortable. It's about something that I feel connected to personally. It's like when you one day have a child, you don't want to separate your child, even though it's not comfortable you carrying him on your hands, but that's your child. There's a certain love. I love my tzitzit. I love my mitzvot. I love who I am. I love my people. I love the Torah. I love Hashem. That's what I'm saying. So, and that tzitzit represent also the connection to the kedusha, that anywhere you go, tzitzit is with you. The kedusha is with you. You want to take it with you. From a sociological point of view, these are also the two center institutions of what we call of Jewish identity. The mezuzah represents the private domain, which is the house, the family, the culture, the inside culture of your house. What culture do you have in your house? The tzitzit represent the public domain and the way a person carries his identity to the world. Are you embarrassed of being a Jew? That's something that I get many times with women who wants to wear a wig when they go out to public. If you were African, you would wear something like, I don't know, like this big with cloth on your head, and you not only would not have a problem with this, you'll be very proud of that. If you were a Rasta, you would put your dreadlocks inside the hat, because that's really who I am. When a woman does not want to wear a head covering, but she wants to wear a shaitel, for me is an indication that something is blemished, and whoever doesn't like it can drink cold water. With her Jewish identity.
So all Ashkenazim that right there.
Let them drink cold water. You should know in Israel, my dear, you've been in Israel, right? In Israel, many of them do wear mitpachat.
Even here, a lot of them.
Even here they do. That's right.
In Main Street, I see a lot, almost everywhere.
Yeah. So now, but not every social symbol is always in the danger of being empty. So when the symbol stays, the meaning goes with it also. Many people, I know many people who are not observant Jew. They want to have a mezuzah. They don't care. Somebody once told me, I said to him, what kind of a parchment do you want? Do you want cheap one, good? And he said, no, just give me a nice one from Israel. Just the box. The inside is like, it's okay. So I said, are you crazy? He said, no, it's okay. But make sure it's nice. I went, okay?
So why do they want it?
Because for them it's just a sign. That's what Jewish people do. There's no meaning to it. There's no meaning.
Starting point, no?
Starting point, yes. Starting point was 8 o'clock. So now, so when you do so, right? When you put the symbol without any meaning, you get a cultural hypocrisy. The next generation sees this quickly. Children don't learn just from your words; they learn more from your actions. They learn even more than your actions. They learn from the gap between the words and your life.
Wow.
So if you tell your son, why aren't you learning Torah? He's going to tell you, Daddy, how about you? What do you want your son? He just did exactly what you did. That's what the question is. Not if there is a mezuzah on the door, but is the spirit of the mezuzah present in the house, Not if there is tzitzit on the baguette, on the clothing, but is there a living memory of holiness in your heart, of love, of fire, not of just honor. This is my Jewish honor. Do you feel the passion to God? Do you feel a passion to your people? Do you feel a passion to who you are? Most of us don't. And maybe this is what the unifying message of this whole entire parasha. The spies of Moshe failed, where ego and fear overcame their mission. The spies of Yehoshua succeeded because they were able to immerse themselves with the mission. They became the mission. The anonymous Mekoshesh teaches us that sometimes the idea is more important than the person who carries it or performs it. The tzitzit and the mezuzah reminds us that religious life are not just about external symbols. We need the kishkis, we need the heart. The real challenge is to find this internal fire in which Chazal spoke about. Not the fire of honor, of stature, or control, but the fire of loving Hashem, of rejoicing in the Torah, the fire of deep identity and connection with the values in which we are looking to live by. When the outside and the inside unite and they're identical, our personal identity serves the purpose but does not substitute the purpose. When you do so, there's a true continuity, and therefore your house is full of life. Therefore your life becomes full of life. The next generation not only gets the tradition, but also gets the meaning. The person sees that his life are just a small part of a great and wonderful story. And maybe this is the answer of the parasha of the Meraglim, right? Of the Haftarah to the parasha of the Meraglim. It's not enough just to see the land, but we need to know why are you going there to see it. It's not enough to carry the name of Hashem. You also allow His presence to light your own life itself. When the vision is greater than the ego, when the mission is greater than your own stature, men and nation as one are able to step forward with belief, with bravery, and with hope. Shabbat Shalom.